And this one is interesting, especially since I stayed up way too late last night to watch the new episode of Mandalorian Season 2. But we'll talk about that episode in a little bit. Of course, the world was shook, Rob. Shook, I tell you. Last week, when the final scene of Season 2, Episode 1 of Mandalorian, we saw Morrison as Boba Fett. We kind of now know it was Boba Fett. I guess at this point, we can say now we know that it was. As Boba Fett. How big of a role will he play in the rest of the season? Will he be the key of pointing Mando or Din to, the child's actual own people? All these questions. Well, it may have been something else entirely. As something completely surprising. And if this is true, how they kept this under wraps for this long is amazing to me. Because right now, as of this morning, Deadline is reporting that a Boba Fett spin-off series could start shooting as early as next week. How did they spin up? I guess under the cover of Mandalorian, maybe it made it easier to hide it. But this is what they're saying right now, is that they're looking, that's coming up. It says the confusion, this is where it here, the confusion stems from the level of secrecy in the Lucasfilm camp. One explanation could be rumors that another Mandalorian-related project, and remember, we heard from Bob Iger months ago, almost a year ago, that they are completely going to do spin-off series of characters that are connected to this Mandalorian show. He told us that a year ago. I just forgot all about it. I think most of us did. One explanation could be rumors from another Mandalorian-related project. I hear that, remember, this is not Gus's gas station .fart movie blog. This is Deadline. All right, I hear possibly a Boba Fett miniseries would film first. This is before Mandalorian Season 3, which will start shooting soon. A Boba Fett miniseries would film first, starting next week, with the Mandalorian Season 3 following after a month-long break. So it sounds like what they're saying here is that they're going to go in, shoot a Boba Fett miniseries, whether that means 4 episodes, 6 episodes, whatever, then take a month-long break, then come back and shoot Mandalorian Season 3. Now, Rob, we know this wouldn't be the first time that Star Wars looked at taking a crack at doing Boba Fett. Remember, Josh Trank was hired to direct what we now know. We didn't immediately, but what we now know was going to be a Boba Fett movie. That's what Trank was going to be doing. They have wanted to do this and had an eye on this for a long time. So I suppose in some ways, we really shouldn't be surprised by this. But I was surprised by this. Not just the whole thing about doing a Boba Fett series, but looking at shooting this miniseries next week, which would obviously then suggest, like I'm guessing here, Rob, and maybe I'm taking this a few steps too forward prematurely, but if we're getting a Boba Fett spinoff series, if that appearance of Boba Fett was just to set him up, to set up this miniseries, maybe does that suggest that we're not going to get any more Boba Fett for the rest of the season? Like maybe that was just to set him up for his own miniseries. I don't know. Rob, you heard about this morning just like I do. Good move, bad move, surprising, not surprising. What does it mean for Boba Fett and the rest of Mandalorian Season 2? What are your thoughts on this right now?
Well, to be honest, I mean, with their stagecraft technology and they're building set pieces, whether they're speeder bikes or whatever, I don't understand why they don't just make Star Wars shows all year round. Like I would just put them in production. And to me, it seems like because if there's a Boba Fett series and it's taking place concurrently with The Mandalorian, you've got your production team in place, and when you're not doing principal photography and you're in post, you could just have a whole rotating team of people making these things. And it doesn't really surprise me at all that they're ramping up to do a second show and then a third show with Obi-Wan, because with the kind of response they're getting and the love people have for at least Mandalorian, it makes sense to me. And, this lawlessness in the galaxy is the perfect place to have the Mandalorian sort of come out of hiding and reestablish their dominance if they ever had it. I mean, we're going to find out as the mythology is developed from Clone Wars and Rebels, and it's going to be neat to see what they do. But I mean, I would imagine we're going to see Boba Fett again. especially probably in the last episode. You know, they've got to meet. I mean, they've already set it up. You've got the armor in play.
Well, yeah, but remember in season 1, they already set it up where when Ming-Na was apparently dead, and at the end of that episode, you see the boot come in, and then we never heard about it again.
Yeah, well, right? I think we know who found her. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. And I like the idea I like the idea that now Boba Fett has a character. Like if that was truly, as you said, his theme song. So it's probably tomorrow. It's, you know what? Somebody corrected me on his pronunciation, and I forget what it is. It's not Tamora. It's something else.
Yeah, I heard that too. I keep forgetting how to pronounce his first name. That's why I just call him by his last name, Morrison.
Yeah, Morrison. TM, the T-Meister. But I think that I think it's cool. Why not? Bring it on.
I'll tell you what. I am far more open to the idea of a Boba Fett property set now. You know, well, now in terms of Star Wars timeline. Like, I was never big on the idea of, let's go back and see Boba Fett's home life. He comes home from a hard day of bounty hunting, sits down, rubs the kids' heads. And like, I always kind of wasn't interested in that really. But the idea of picking it up now, you know, and moving the story forward, okay, that I find interesting. That I find at least a little bit more interesting. So I'm kind of down with that. The question is for you guys, were you caught by surprise with this? And I suppose, you know, even the Deadline article didn't say it with a lot, like with 100% certainty, but it certainly sounds like that's what they're doing. How do you feel about it? Are you open to it? Did it catch you by surprise? Do you think it's a mistake? Jump down into the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys.